Greetings, friends. I'm coming to share some thoughts with you about a special day in my life. And it's June the 6th. And it happened 49 years ago when I was ordained into the Lutheran Church, Missouri Synod and Christian Ministry. And I'm going to start with this passage from Psalm 37:23. It says, "The steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord, and he delights in his way." And as I share this narrative about my history, I know that God was directing my path. My dad prayed that one son would be a teacher and the other son a pastor. I did not know that for years. And ultimately, my older brother got his PhD at A&M and became a professor and taught his entire career at Sam Houston State University. And I ended up in the seminary as a pastor. And listen to Proverbs 16:9. It says, "A man's heart plans his ways, but the Lord directs his steps." It's kind of very similar to that other passage in Psalms. And I'm sharing this because, look, when I finished college, I did not know what I wanted to do. Now, back up. I went to University High School in Waco, and a shout out to all my classmates from university. We just had our 60th reunion last year, and many of us gathered together and celebrated our time together and shared our lives experience and so on. But I graduated from Baylor in January of 70, and I wasn't sure what to do. And I was kind of thinking about the ministry. And so I looked into it and I applied to two seminaries, one in St. Louis and one in Illinois, and I got accepted to both of them. And then the tuition for both of them was about the same. It was $1,800 a year. And I'm thinking $1,800, I was working my way through college. I worked my way through Baylor. And so I thought, I can't afford that. And then lo and behold, I get a letter from the district of the Lutheran Church in Texas. And they said, "We hear you've been accepted into the seminary, so we're going to give you $800 a year as long as you go to school." And I thought, that's nice, but it's $800. I need $1,800. And not too long after that, I get a letter from a church up the road from me in Waco, who I had never been to that church. And they heard that I was going to go to the seminary. And so they said, "Look, we've got a seminary fund and we've never used it. So we'd like to give you $1,000 a year towards your seminary experience for as long as you go." And so now I'm thinking, okay, I've got $1,800 and I can go to the seminary. So I tried it, went up to Springfield, picked that seminary. And after a year, I got accepted into a program to study in Germany. So I went over to Oberursel, which is outside of Frankfurt, and studied a year in a Lutheran seminary there, and then came back for a third year in Springfield, Illinois. And then they sent me on an internship to sort of serve as an associate pastor. And they sent me to Panama, to the Canal Zone. And so I went down there and I served as a year in that church. And the church was made up of people that worked for the Canal Zone. Also, there were about 13 military bases in that area. And there were expats living in the city, and also people that worked in corporations like Xerox and that. So they were all part of this church. And so at the end of that year, I went back to Springfield. I drove actually from Panama up through all of Central America and through Mexico to Laredo, Texas, and then up to Waco. I drove back with a couple that was coming back to the States. And then in Waco, I went to a restaurant. Actually, I went to see my parents on my way back to Springfield for my last year in school. And while in Waco, I met Rivers Ann Hatchett, who waited on my table in the restaurant. She was in her last year at Baylor, or last semester actually. And so we met, courted long distance and that. I went back for a year and was graduated in May of '76. And then on June the 6th, today, 49 years ago, I was ordained into the Lutheran Church, Missouri Synod as a pastor. And so I'm sharing this narrative with you because, when I started out in college, I did not know what I wanted to do. And even after I graduated from college, I was uncertain about what path to take, and ended up going to the seminary to sort of just see. I felt called to the ministry, but not as strongly as I ultimately felt at the end. But ultimately, I was, 5 years later, graduated and ordained. And I thank God for that. I'm glad for the choice. I'm glad that He directed my path and my heart and my mind to be open to what He wanted me to do. And there's absolutely no way I'd trade my last 49 years for anything. And I think next week I'm going to talk a little bit more about my experience in the church. But I wanted to share this narrative with you because, look, whether it's your children trying to find or grandchildren trying to find their way, just understand the Lord, as it says in the Bible, directs our path. And there's no better way for any of us than to have the Lord direct our path. And sometimes we have to yield, sometimes we have to surrender, sometimes we have to let go, but ultimately we have to trust God in every aspect of our life. Amen? I hope this has been helpful. Hey, I'd love to hear from you. Reach out, hit the comment button right now if you're on Facebook or Instagram, or go to my website, paultescheministries.com, hit the prayer button. I answer prayers from all over the world all the time. And ultimately, I've got a YouTube page, Paul Teske Ministries, with over 500 teachings and seminaries and testimonies and all kind of things there that you can go to. And again, I'm doing this for you. And I'm just trying to share with you and help you build your hope. And I think at the end of this, I just want to say one thing. Jesus Christ died on the cross for you, for me, for our sin, and gave us the gift of everlasting life that I cling to every day when I wake up. I thank the Lord for my faith in Jesus Christ and the hope that I have to live eternally with him. And that's my hope for you, that you will share this faith with me. And again, I shout out to all my good friends at University High School in Waco. I hope you just have a wonderful day. All right, so go in peace and serve the Lord. And all God's people said, amen.